Hi, this is Dave. Courage is one of those things that is rarely discussed in business circles, and yet it is required for a successful Christian business. I'm facing a big business decision, and that is whether to invest a significant portion of my retirement funds into a new venture whose financial success is hardly assured. At the same time, last week, I worked with a friend who was faced with a very similar decision, and that is whether to invest a big portion of his wealth into a new venture. And okay, so I'm going to use all the analytical tools I have accumulated over the years. We'll create a best case and a worst case pro forma. We'll do all the due diligence on the potential revenue and costs, and we'll attempt to identify the potential risks and put in place strategies to mitigate the risks. And all this will make the decision a bit more clear and make us feel a bit better or worse about the decision that I would eventually recommend my friend do the same. Unfortunately, none of this worldly effort will uncover the answer to the ultimate question. And the ultimate question is this: is this what God wants us to do? Now, if the answer is a clear and unambiguous yes, this is what God wants us to do, then all the analytics and the due diligence won't matter. And if the answer is a definite no, then all the numbers we created will prove to be inconsequential. And if there is no answer, then the work that we do might have some impact. Acquiring that clear and unambiguous yes becomes then the first challenge. And there are a number of excellent books written on the subject of discerning God's will for your life and for the big decisions within it. I'm not going to drill down deeper in that part of it in this podcast. Probably, though, the most important element of discerning God's will in your life is your personal relationship with Him. If you have lived long enough and struggled mightily enough to have entered into something approaching a conversational relationship with Him, then you'll be secure in the direction you get from Him. And if he truly is the senior partner in your business and your mentor in your career, then you should know Him well enough not to have to guess at His direction. In a very real and tangible sense, the closer your relationship with Him, the more secure you can be in the direction He points you to. And the more secure you can be in the decisions you make along the way. Building an ever-growing relationship with God is then a mature and wise business decision. But what then? What happens? So let's say you get that clear and unambiguous yes. What then? What happens when you have a big business decision or a major personal decision and you have a sense of the direction of it from God? Is it now a done deal? Well, I'm afraid not. It's certainly possible to have a direction from God on a big decision and yet be afraid to implement it. There's a huge chasm separating your awareness of God's direction and your actions to follow that direction. The bridge between intellectual assent, the bridge that spans that chasm between intellectual assent and implementation is courage. Courage is a necessary ingredient in the mix for a mature and successful Christian business person. Now, there's a great Bible story which illustrates the need for courage. Here's the story. You'll know it, I'm sure. Moses has died, and Joshua is now the leader of the Hebrews, charged now with the task of conquering the people living in the promised land and taking possession of it. And God gives him this promise, quote, "I will give you every place where you set your foot as I promised Moses. No one will be able to stand up against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you or forsake you." Wow, what a promise. That's Joshua chapter 1, verses 3 to 5. Amazing. But there it is. a clear, unambiguous direction from God delivered in specific, understandable, spoken words. Man, it doesn't get any better than that. Here was a mature man of God with a conversational relationship with his Creator, given clear, specific direction from God. Not only did Joshua have a clear direction from God, but he also had the promise that his effort would be successful. Man, does it get any better than that? Yet it wasn't enough. God knew that the command by itself was not enough to motivate Joshua to implement that plan. Gee, imagine that. Joshua needs courage. So God encourages him, and here's what he said. Quote, "Be strong and be courageous, because you will lead the people to inherit the land I swore to give to their forefathers. Be strong and be courageous. Have I not commanded you? Joshua, be strong and be courageous." Now, those passages appear in Joshua chapter 6, or verses 6 through 9. So Joshua had been given the biggest challenge of his lifetime. There is absolutely no doubt about God's direction. There is absolutely no doubt about God's promise to bring him success. I mean, God said it to him in understandable words. And yet, God still had to encourage him three times, to be strong and courageous. I know of no other place in the entire Bible where God repeats himself, in this case, be strong and be courageous, where God repeats himself word for word 3 times in the course of one conversation. Do you? I don't think there is. Courage is that important to the success of any enterprise. Larger and newer the enterprise, from my experience, the more courage is required. Joshua's was a huge challenge, and even with the promise of divine intervention, it required a correspondingly huge dose of courage. Now, your next business decision may not involve hundreds of thousands of people like Joshua's did, and it may not be the expression of generations of covenant and prophecy like Joshua's was. Once you have God's direction, though, it will require courage. Now, when it comes to your next business decision, relationship with God and clear direction are the fundamentals. Courage is the finishing piece. Okay? That's it. Well, I still have your attention. I'd like to share with you the XI community. XI stands for Excellence and Influence. It is an online community where we bring together Christian business people to help one another, to engage with each other and our team of experts, and content, an ever-growing body of content specifically designed for Christian business people. I don't think you're going to find anything like it anyplace else. I mean, if you want to grow as a Christian business person, if you want to achieve excellence and influence, which I believe every Christian business person should strive for, excellence and influence, where are you going to go to do it? This is the place, the XI community. And by the way, I mean, we charge an amazingly incredible $5 a month. But there's a catch, and that is we only, in lieu of charging a more reasonable market price, we expect certain things from you. We expect you to be engaged. We expect you to take a course every quarter or so. We expect you to invite others into the community. And if you don't, then we're going to ask you to leave. So you know, if you want to be engaged and you want to interact, this is the place. If not, then it's not. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to check it out, the XI community. Okay, that's it. We're now done. Bye-bye.